What is up, guys? Back at you again with another game update. Feels really good to say that. It's actually been over 2 months since my last one. Um, yeah, I was working on honor stuff, my thesis. And by working on, I mean procrastinating and doing absolutely nothing until the last week, as per the usual. But finally back again with another game update. Feels really good to say. Got some stuff for you today. For today's background, we got this picture I drew like, I don't know, 2 years ago. Wow, I wonder who influenced this face. Alright, so Unreal Engine 5. I updated my project and I just finished re-referencing everything. I don't really have anything really to show you that's new per se. Um, but my project does work in Unreal Engine 5, so I will be using it. The only thing I've done so far is I've redone some of the coding in the back. So whereas before I had everything in a singular player controller, now I have it with pawns. And the reason why I did that is because, let me just show you. Uh, Boomer Tech. Okay. So for people who are not Unreal Engine inclined, um, there's a hierarchy system in Unreal Engine, okay? So you have like the game mode, game state, blah blah blah, player controller, blah blah blah. So basically, everything at the top can access everything below it. So for example, if you were the player controller, you could access the HUD, the input, the player camera manager. But if you were the HUD, you couldn't access the player controller because it's above it in the hierarchy. So before, I had everything in here because you could access a lot of things with it, right? But the issue I had was that because I had everything in one player controller, some of the inputs were conflicting with each other. So in particular was the movement. So actually, if you go back to my previous game journals, you could actually see the mannequin moving forward like a little bit and then stopping, and I keep having to press the button. You can probably can't really tell on video, but it was a really bad problem. Actually, I could show you because I still have the old one because I had to remake it. But anyway, it's a problem. So I ended up having to split it into pawns for each different game mode. So I have like a pawn for when it's paused, a pawn for when you're in the dialogue, and then I have one for when you're walking around and stuff. It's easier this way. It's cleaner. It didn't take me all that long to do either. I mean, you know, it, I did it all today. So yeah. So the pawn you can see is over here. It's underneath the player controller, which is great. Um, yeah. So that's basically that. Okay. I really like Unreal Engine 5 so far. I mean, it just looks really great. And there was a lot of bugs. I won't say a lot. Okay, a lot is a little much. But there were some bugs in Unreal Engine 4.26 that really got on my skin. And they seem to be fixed in this version, which is great. Um, yeah. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks really good. Something I really, really like is for the widgets. You can now see what they look like. They all have thumbnails now, which is really small and minor, but it's good because when you have like 1,000 of them, you don't want to click on something like, oh, I did it. It's not this one, it's another one. So you can now see the thumbnails, which is cool. All right, you probably want to see the game now, so I'll just show you. I mean, it looks exactly the same as it did 2 months ago. I just moved stuff around. Oh, well, it doesn't look exactly the same because some of the temporary assets changed. So like buttons, you can see like here, there's no longer any spacing between them for some reason. And the buttons themselves are now flat. They don't have that shading on them as before. I actually like the flat buttons. And another error I used to get before was when I edited the test level and went back to the main level, main menu, the editor would crash. And it doesn't do that anymore, which is really great. Um, so yeah. So yeah, everything works as per the usual. The only thing is because I changed it to pawn, now the camera resets. So like for example, if I have it here, I pause the game, unpause it, it's right behind him again. It's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's kind of bothering me. But I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm thinking about putting a screen there anyways. So I don't know. But it's kind of noticeable, especially when you talk to someone. So like, for example, if you were like this, it just kind of jumps to that. I mean, I don't know if that's really something that people would care about. But yeah. So let me show you what would happen beforehand. So I'll just open up the test level here. And I'll switch the player controller back to what it used to be. Okay, you see that? He's walking forward. He just stops. Thank you, Windows, for coming up at this perfectly timed moment. But you can see he kind of walks and just kind of stops. Yeah, he's actually been doing this for a really long time, and I never really knew why he was doing it. But it was because I had a couple things bound to the same input as walking. So for example, when you go to, say, the chemistry bar in the pause menu, there's a couple things, like A and D are, used for going left and right here. So, walking left and right is also A and D. So it just conflicts somehow with that. I don't know why it does that, but I mean, it's better to have everything separate anyways. So I could even show you that. So here's the old player controller with everything in one thing. I sort of had it organized, with individual graphs for each part, but the graphs are really on the user end. So to the engine, it's all in one big file, which isn't really efficient, to be honest with you. Um, so yeah, I split it up. So now I have 3. So this one handles pausing, and this one handles the dialogue. You can see it's much smaller. It only has 2 graphs. And this one handles the pause menu. So you have the chemistry bar, profiles, help menu, world map. And what's great about this too is that it saves resources because whenever I need to use these inputs, I just spawn the pawn into the world and possess it. Beforehand, I had it running every time you press the button, which is probably why I was conflicting, right? So this way is better, essentially. And this is probably a really boring update to people who don't code, but to people who do code, I mean, you might know it might be interesting to you. So yeah, what is next to do? Good question. Honestly, what I really want to do is get these. Let me set it back to how it was before I forget. There you go. What I really want to do, of course, is finish these portraits, which I haven't touched in a couple of months. But yeah, I want to finish these. You can even see here that the buttons have changed a little bit. I wonder if I can... Yeah, right? They've changed. They're more flat, which is good in a way, because now I can change them to something more aesthetic myself instead of relying on the default button. But I mean, yeah, my back button got... I don't know what happened to it. It got squished. I don't... It was fine before, and I updated, and now it's squished. So I have to look at that. But yeah, overall, what I've seen so far of Unreal Engine 5 looks really great. I haven't watched any tutorials or anything like that yet, so it's just what I know from the previous version. But from what I've seen, I mean, it looks really great. I haven't encountered any bugs, except for one. but it was really minor. It was I couldn't delete something for some reason, but then I saved it and I was able to delete it. So whatever, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. So stay tuned. I will be posting more frequently, and yeah, I will be. Hopefully next time I'll have some of, if not all of, the class portraits done. Yeah, I'm also working more on the scripts, the side stories. I've almost got all of Joe's buddy quests done. He's gonna have one with each character. So, like, for example, from Gavin, you can learn how to raise your defense. From Dan, you can learn how to be charismatic. You can learn one skill from each person that they can also use too. That's yeah, because Joe's like the all around guy. Yeah. So I'm working on that um too. So yeah, stay tuned for more. I guess eventually. Bye.